down? The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on the radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Yeah! Happy post-Easter to everyone. That's right, he is risen. Let's go, you scallywags, nutmeggers, conversationalists, and you haters. It's Reese on the radio, live right here on WTIC News Talk 1080. Special announcement coming this week on the long-awaited Republican gubernatorial debate. We'll have all of those details and how you can attend. And I want to thank everybody here at WTIC for working so hard to make that happen. We'll tell you all the details about it in the next coming days. If we don't have it by tomorrow, we'll definitely start by Wednesday, but we got plenty of time. It's just the beginning of the month. So stay tuned for that. Got plenty of news and plenty of views to discuss today. Donald Trump is doing a presser right now that's live, which will probably go on for another hour. I don't expect it any longer than that. And that New York Times reporter with the kid in play hairdo is asking him questions now. I hate that guy. He'll probably ask a ridiculous question. It's the New York Times. You know, the New York Times, famously referring to NATO as the North American. Instead of... we'll get into that. Anyway, I got plenty of stories to talk about this week. Is a big week for this show because of our guest on Wednesday. Because there is a major, major scandal brewing in education in this state, if not across the country. But there are two stories that are intertwined in education in this state as it pertains to minorities. And this is a story that cannot be ignored. And it will test the Democrat supermajority in this state for elections to come if I have got anything to say about it. And those who are being jerked around have anything to say about it. And they'll be our guest on Wednesday, but I will preview that today. Some of you may have seen my post online during the Easter weekend. I said we had a big story coming this Wednesday. I will lay out for you that conversation that's going to happen on Wednesday today. And why Democrats need to listen to what they have done. And there may be no coming back from it. And for those of you who talk a good game about, equity and diversity and racial equity and racism, you got a lot to answer for today. And it is a lot deeper than, what's his name? Matt Lesser being kicked off the Black and Puerto Rican caucus. It's bigger than that. I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing every time I think of it. It's bigger than that. And, what he did, it's got to be addressed. And there must be, as Obama famously said, penalties for what happened. Let me play it. Anybody remember when Obama said this? Where's Obama's quote? Here it is.
We're going to punish our enemies, and we're going to reward our friends who stand with us on issues that are important to us.
That's right. Remember when he said that, Democrats?
We're going to punish our enemies, and we're going to reward our friends who stand with us on issues that are important to us.
That's right. We're going to punish our enemies. Well, African Americans and Puerto Ricans alike. It looks like your enemies are Martin Looney and Matt Lesser. If not, the entire Democrat Party. We're going to lay it out for you. Because from what I see, one community got bilked out of $4.7 million. Like a thief in the night. They had that money stolen from them. They did everything they were supposed to do. And Martin Looney and Matt Lesser say, nah, you ain't getting anything. What are you going to do? Vote Republican? I don't know, maybe. After I finish working them over, we'll talk about it. Stand by. Anyway, thank you, Roldan. Is it Royden? I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's Roldan. Roldan, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. He's out of Simsbury. He says he loves the show. Thank you. I love you, too. Thank you for supporting the program. Like I said, before I get into that, and that's big news, I'm always thinking about the left. Not in a way that, crazy people do. The ones that are like, it's the left. No, I don't do that. I think about them, but I think about them lovingly. They're always concerned about the things that I believe in, and they're very vocal about it. My friend Kevin Megget, Donald, he'll send me a message here or there. People on the left do it all the time. Reese, what about this? Do you support that? What would get you to stop supporting Donald Trump? That's a big thing. That is very important to people on the left. Those MAGA folks, they'll never abandon him. They agree with everything he stands for. And I'm like, okay, calm down. It came to me today. I would like to extend an olive branch to the left. Kevin Megget, Donald, Bob J., people who listen to this program. And I thank them for coming back every day, Monday through Friday, 2 to 6. I would like to maybe barter with them. Hell, compromise, if you will. I would like to recommend 9 compromises. It would work like this. You see, I would denounce MAGA and Donald Trump altogether if you will compromise with me 9 different ways. It's real simple. Again, I will give up my MAGA t-shirt. I will give up my Make America Great Again hat. I will denounce them if you will compromise with me through 9 simple terms. These are things you must give up in order for me to denounce MAGA. Folks, you can tell your liberal friends. You got a daughter or a son who's a radical leftist. They've colored their hair. They've joined some group of people who go to No Kings marches. And they say, Mom, Dad, Nana, Pop, can you possibly just stop supporting this evil man? You can say to them, sure. Let's have a compromise. Here are 9 of them. And I think we can all agree that these are not things that your neighborhood leftists couldn't give up. And they must give up all of them. I'll run them down for you. Again, they are called the 9 compromises. Let's run by a few. I've got your leftist friend or family member would have to admit that the lab leak was real, that natural immunity existed, that masks on toddlers were theater, and the most peaceful riots somehow didn't spread the virus like churches did. Follow the science crowd ignored the actual science. They have to admit those things. Tell them that you will dump Trump if the authoritarian overreach that wrecked our children's education. They admit that those things happen. That's one compromise. All of those things, they have to admit. How about this one? They'd have to renounce the history of every socialist experiment, from Venezuela's collapse to California's homelessness factories, while ignoring America's unmatched poverty escape and innovation. They must acknowledge Economics 101, that incentives matter. How about this one? They'd have to stop pretending a 24-week viable baby feels no pain. They'd have to stop pretending that. They have to agree to ultrasound science and basic knowledge about embryos and embryology. If they denounce those things, you'll give up MAGA. Here's another one that I like. They'd have to stop pushing gender ideology onto kindergartners and claiming opponents are bigots. No more school curricula that hide transition plans from parents. That biology and child psychology both scream kids can't consent to this madness. They have to agree with that. And you will renounce MAGA. How about this one? They'd have to renounce the post-2020 experiment that spiked murders in every major city. In essence, they'd have to renounce defund the police. They'd have to stop using that claim, and they'd have to reject the idea that criminals are victims. You will renounce MAGA. Here's another one. Climate change is an existential apocalypse that justifies destroying the U.S. economy. They'd have to renounce it. They have to stop screaming things like there are 12 years left. They have to pay attention to real science, and there must be real conversation and not consensus. They have to be open to a dialogue about climate science. There must be no destroying of individual lives of those who disagree with the climate consensus. They also must renounce Al Gore. I'm throwing that one in. I think that works. They must also renounce that open borders are compassionate and have a zero downside. That's right. They'd have to admit that millions of unvetted entries bring fentanyl deaths, gang crime, and wage suppression for American workers. The facts that even their own border czar couldn't spin away. No more migrants and more Americans for America's sake. They have to renounce that, and we'll give up MAGA. What's another one here? Let me see. I know there was one that I really, really liked. What was that one? Oh, here it is. Yes. They must renounce race-based policies, DEI, reparations, and affirmative action. Yeah, they have to get rid of that. Get rid of all of it and go back to the meritocracy. Give it all up. We will renounce MAGA. Yeah, I think that works. And last but not least, biological sex is a spectrum and men can become women. They must renounce it. They have to give all of that up in order for us to denounce MAGA. All of these things are just, they don't have to give up anything. They can still, be angry at Republicans. They can protest the No Kings rally. But all of these things, they should be able to give up. And that's more important to them, right? That we renounce MAGA. That we are no longer MAGA Republicans. And we just become more, moral people. We have to separate ourselves from Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. And I think that every person who's a member of MAGA can do that if we can get you to compromise on these 9 things. Come on, folks. They're the most ridiculous parts of your party. They're the most ridiculous things that you believe in. Come on. Yeah, come on. Gender ideology to toddlers? Come on. You could give that up. The planet only has 12 years left? Come on. You don't really believe that, do you? You give that up. I mean, that kind of stuff is cultist, right? Huh? That the color of someone's skin is more important than who they are and what they can, bring to the table? Come on, you could give that up. You renounce that? Come on, these are simple things. Simple biology, No more, men and women's sports. Huh? Go back to normal where Title IX actually meant something to women's sports? Come on, you can give that up. Are you really tethered to that? Defunding the police makes everyone safer. Huh? It doesn't mean you can't protest where there's actual racist cop, but we don't defund the police. We just hold bad police accountable. Right? You can give that up, right? None of this stuff is crazy. Late-term abortion? We're not even telling you to renounce abortion. Late term. Come on. Third trimester talk here. No more up to the date of birth. None of this stuff is crazy. Oh, yeah, that's right. The 9th one. I did forget that one. Ooh, this one may be tough. You have to renounce socialism. Yeah. Yeah, you got to give that one up, too. The redistribution of wealth. Yeah, well, I forgot that one. Yeah. This may be harder of a compromise than I thought. I'm sorry, folks. That was the one. I had him at 8. That redistribution thing? Nah, sorry. I don't think it'll work. Oh, well. It was worth a shot. We'll be back. More news, more views when we return to Reese on the Radio.
Fan of WTIC? Then do us a favor. Download the free Odyssey app and favorite WTIC.
All right, we're back. It's Reese on the Radio right here live on WTIC News Talk 1080. Gwen, thank you for checking out the show. Gwen's going to be here on Wednesday. Gwen Samuel is one of the individuals who's trying to move or working to remove Senator Matt Lesser from the Black and Puerto Rican caucus. And she's going to be our guest. And Gwen, if you're listening, tell me who the others are who are coming in with you. I know you'll be here, but I didn't get a chance to get a list of who else is coming because you guys are all going to be here and you're going to talk about all of that. But let me read Gwen's comment about my 9 compromises. She says this. In Connecticut, there is a lot of discrimination at the state level, and Republicans are not that majority party. Ergo, it's safe to say we should ask every party not to engage in discrimination practices. You're 100% right about that, Gwen. And it is what I'm going to say is not even a pushback on what you're stating, because I agree with you. Nobody should play a part in that. But it is safe to say, and Gwen, I think you'll agree, that Republicans have not even been given the opportunity to be discriminatory towards African Americans in any way because African Americans in the state don't really vote for Republicans. They just don't. I don't think they've been given an opportunity to be beneficial or not so to the African American community because that chance has not been given to them. But we're going to make that. We're going to make that change. We're going to see if we can get folks to give them that opportunity. Look, I will say this. The supermajority in this state for Democrats, and for as long as it has been, we have not seen prosperity grow for African Americans through the state. And the story that Gwen is going to be coming here to talk about is African American, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, whatever the case is, self-reliance. This is a charter school that broke ground in achievement for the minority in Middletown. what they did and what they were able to achieve as a school was groundbreaking. Should have been celebrated and rewarded. But it was punished. And why? Why was it punished? And who got the benefit from what they were, in essence, I would just say just got scammed out of? Money that was supposed to go to them, they'd done everything right, everything they were supposed to do, and the party that they have been dedicated themselves for decades, 60, maybe even 70 years, told them, yeah, never mind. What you going to do about it? And I told you folks, I said this a long time. I know some African-American listeners don't know this, but I told you this, and I haven't, we're talking about, I actually heard it. What are you going to do, they said to African-Americans during the Obama years. What are you going to do, vote for Republicans? They didn't care. They knew you weren't going to vote for Republicans, so they could do anything they want. You've given them license to do everything they want. You're going to do two things. You have three choices, but you're only going to choose two. You're going to vote for us, you're not going to show up, and that's it. The third choice is vote for Republicans, but they know you're not going to do that. It's like a vampire to the cross. You'll never vote for Republicans. You'd be shunned, publicly shamed, called a sellout, called a traitor to your race. And when you only have two choices, show up or else, or nothing, they can do whatever they want. Who needs you? And when you give somebody that kind of power, it only means you have none. Do you understand that? Think about it this way. You have one place that's let's take a hamburger joint. Let's take the simplest. You got Wendy's and McDonald's, right? And this time when you're going to lunch, you're going to buy ice cream as a dessert for the kids. Well, we know one of these franchises, their ice cream machine is always on the fritz. But if they know you're going to come because of their name, they don't ever have to fix the ice cream machine. They know you're not going to go over to Wendy's. And if you never tell them, if you never respond to them by saying, you know what, I'm fed up with the ice cream machine never working. I'm going to try a Frosty this time. And then you go over there and you actually like the Frosty, and it's a lot better. And then you have McDonald's suffer the consequences of never having the ice cream machine. And they notice that people aren't coming anymore, and Wendy's lines are going around the corner. Finally, somebody will say, hey, can we fix the ice cream machine around here? The people are going to Wendy's. That's never happened. That's how that works. It really works. It's that simple. The Democrats know that you're going to do nothing but show up for them or stay home. Well, if you want your vote to mean something, you got to let them know it's up for grabs. You got to tease them a little bit. Oh, we're not going to get that funding? Oh, well, let's vote for somebody who will give us that funding. And we'll go right up there and tell them, hey, Republicans, I think we can get you the election, but we want something in return. We want to make sure that our kids are either well-fed or well-educated. We want funding for the projects that do great things for our young people or for our communities. And we want to know that we've got the bargaining chip here. We got a vote. And if Republicans, trust me when I tell you, if Republicans learn that your vote's up for grabs, that there's an opportunity for them, oh, they'll grovel for it. And that's the way it should be. That's what power is all about. You really want to recognize power? That's what it's all about. Let me go back to an old story I've talked about plenty of times right here on this show. And you can look this story up if you want to. A couple of years back, Mayor Michael Bloomberg, he was faced with a conundrum in a small neighborhood in Brooklyn. And before Bloomberg's, well, at least during Bloomberg's administration, through this small Orthodox Jewish neighborhood, they had made bike lanes. And the bike lanes, other people in Brooklyn would ride their bikes through it. And the people who would ride their bikes were predominantly women. Of course, some men would, but predominantly women. And the women who would drive by, they're not Orthodox Jewish. Some people were riding their bikes in short shorts and sports bra and showing a lot of flesh. And the Jewish community condemned that. They didn't want their young people, impressionable young people, seeing that kind of exhibition through their neighborhoods. And sure enough, the rabbis and the clerics in the area went to Michael Bloomberg and said, hey, you want to win the election? You want to win this constituency? Remove the bike lanes. Well, the other neighbors who had the bike lanes, they went to war over it. What do you mean they're going to get rid of the bike lanes? No, those bike lanes, we want those things. Bloomberg, you better keep them. The Orthodox Jewish community looked at Bloomberg and said, you really want to do that? You want to go to war over a bike lane? You want to win re-election or you want a bike lane? Well, sure enough, in a matter of days, Parks Department was out there sandblasting the park lane, got rid of it. Huge story in the newspapers. Huge. I mean, we got wall-to-wall front page news for votes. And I've been telling that story for now, maybe 15 years? I've been telling people that story. You guys keep missing it. That's power. What are elected officials? What are they there for? To do your bidding. They're there to work for you. And if you are just going to hand a party your vote, just going to give it to them, just because can't be seen given to the other side, what do you think's going to happen when you guarantee? Again, Democrat Party, supermajority, looks at that and goes, I don't have to give them anything. They've got two choices. In a world of three, they will only pick two. They'll vote for us or no one. Well, when's that going to change? Now? Or never? If I were you, maybe November. I would say try it out. You haven't done it once. What an opportunity. Tell them all, Democrats, who need you? I'm going to give my vote to somebody who respects it. I'm going to give my vote to someone who thinks it has value. Guess what will happen to the Democrat Party? What do you think folks like Matt Lesser and Martin Looney will do? They'll turn around and they'll start scrambling. Get them the money! Get them the money! Get them all the money! What do they want? 8-9 trillion, get it! They'll flip backwards for you. Martin Looney will be in Hartford doing somersaults. Get them the money! Mark my words. Make the threat. Seriously, a serious threat. Just say, I don't think we're messing with you guys anymore. You're using us and you're abusing us. And then you go on television and you scream racism and equity and all that other stuff. And then when the rubber meets the road, you give us nothing. You take from us. You use us. Well, we're not going to be used anymore. And in the famous words of the emperor, join me. If you really want to make them pay, just join me. I will show you the way. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's Reese on the radio.
It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
What am I? Yeah, there we go. That's weird. You guys are 100% brilliant in this. Jason and Lori, you guys hit it right on the head. I called that segment, again, what do you have to lose? That's the whole point. What have you got to lose? You've given up everything to the Democrat Party here in Connecticut. What did you get for it? When we come back at the top of the hour, I'm going to lay it all out. How two very key weird things are going on. Not just with the Matt Lesser story and Martin Looney. It's also this story about what Connecticut is doing to recruit kids back to the public school, which in essence may be breaking the law. Well, hell, according to most people, they are. And it's insane what's going on. And the people who they're hurting the most are minority kids, poor kids. And they're paying upwards of $900 a pop to an outside entity to do it. So I'm going to lay it all out to you. It's stunning that this is happening in Connecticut. And no one's saying, and at the same time, there are people, by the way, Doug McCrory, of all people, Senator McCrory, who has only released one statement about this Capital Preparatory Charter School scandal, and hasn't said much about this scandal with regards to Hartford public schools that are trying to keep kids in the public school system, but poaching them out of preparatory and charter schools. And again, no one, well, at least not enough of the people in the black community are standing up to this. I mean, it's like education doesn't mean anything to people anymore. And the Capital Preparatory Charter School, when you hear their success rate and find out what Martin Looney did to them, you're going to be like, what? I was like, no, that doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. You don't slap people in the face like this. And I talked to one of the people that's involved in this story, and when I tell you this person is outraged, he's going to be on soon, but he was so livid about this. We spoke on Saturday, in fact. Roseanne was doing some antique shopping, getting on my last nerve. I don't like going antique shopping, but I took the time to make a couple of phone calls. I spoke to Gwen, too, on Saturday. And don't worry, Gwen. Gwen said, oh, thank your wife for allowing you to speak on family. Trust me, Gwen, you were a lifesaver that day. I was happier talking to you than going antique shopping. But I spoke to her and this gentleman who is very livid about this. And what he had to say about Matt Lesser is something we've all known. We'll get into that a little bit in the next hour as well. So stand by for that. Okay, because there's so much to get into. Do I have a minute or so? Yeah, let me see if I can get to this. Let me get Lori real quick in Glastonbury. Hello, Lori.
Hey, he is risen indeed. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. What's up?
So and forgive me if I've missed a lot of shows and stuff because of work, but have you talked a bit about what effect Candace Owens and her ilk might have on the November election?
No.
I'm just curious as your input on that, and yeah, that's mostly what I'm curious about, and also just the whole idea of people just being lazy. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on the
I'll address
Candace.
If you're listening at 5, I'll address the Candace Owens thing. I kind of addressed that a couple of weeks ago, but I'll hit up the Candace Owens thing because I know it's a story that a lot of people have it's been bubbling up in a lot of spaces. I usually ignore it for good reason, but I'll address it at 5 o'clock. I promise.
I think she is demonically possessed. But that is just, and I'm not even joking about that.
I know. I will. I promise.
Incredibly mentally ill or possessed.
I promise I'll address it. Let me get to one more. Thanks, Lori. Let me get to one more.
Bye.
You got it. Bye. Hey, Dash, do you want to wait until the top of the hour? Because I've got less than a minute with you. Are you willing to wait?
Yeah. No, I'll tell you what. I got something really quick.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, you heard about the McDonald's ice cream machines, right?
Yeah.
The whole issue with that?
Yes, I did. In fact, a friend of mine told me about a good friend, who works the maintenance of ice cream machines.
Yeah.
There's an underlying scandal in all of this, I heard.
Right. And I thought you were comparing the government to Wendy's and McDonald's.
No. I was comparing voting to, look, if you keep going in for ice cream and it's no longer working, after a while you go, you know what, maybe I'll just have a Frosty, right? Because the Wendy's machine is always working. So, it's like you may have to alter your choices, but after a while when you keep getting pushed around by one place who won't sort of appeal to you, you have to do whatever. I got to go to the top of the hour break. Thank you, man. Right. Let's go to the news. John Silver, he is in the WTIC newsroom. We'll be back.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
All right, we're back. Reese on the radio on WTIC, News Talk 1080. Now, I'm going to try to make this as simple as I possibly can. If you get lost, you can always call in 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Now, this was a story that was only in the Yankee Institute's online article. This has not made mainstream media, although it should. Why? Because of the amount of money that was taken away from a charter school in Middletown. And the people who are in the organization are asking that Senator Matt Lesser be removed from the sorry, I can't do it. The Black and Puerto Rican Caucus. Sorry, it makes me laugh. Okay? How did Matt Lesser become a member of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus? He told them his mother is from Argentina. He is never identified as Hispanic. He does not identify as Hispanic. He doesn't look like a brown person. I don't even think he has ever expressed that, but I guess that was the reason why. Now, that may be, the onus of that may be on the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, but they thought they had an ally, and he jerked them. He did. That's the only way I can say it. That's what he did. That's the way we would describe it. He betrayed them. How so? Let's break it down. Okay. So the simple thing is, in 2023, the State Board of Education approved Capital Prep, which is a preparatory school. Its application for a new high school campus in Middletown. It scored the highest among all charter apps that year. Funding was written into the state budget, then quietly removed at the 11th hour. They are accusing Matt Lesser of doing that, with the help of Senate President Pro Tem Martin Looney and Senator Jan Hochadel of Meriden, who happens to also be the head of the State Teachers Union affiliate. Now, this is according to Steve Perry, who is the founder of Capital Prep. He says that Lesser personally spoke to Looney and Hochadel, and they agreed to take Middletown out of the budget. Now, according to every report, Capital Prep is a proven non-union charter school that gets strong results for black and brown students who aren't thriving in traditional public schools. Perry's school focus on college prep and discipline, exactly the kind of choice that many families want, overwhelmingly for their kids. There's still been no funding. Capital Prep has just sued the State Board of Education, arguing the legislature can't override the board's approval process and that the backroom politics are blocking a fair system. The lawsuit seeks a court ruling that the board, not politicians, should control the new charter funding. The amount of money that they're losing, I don't know. They're saying it's hard to tell, but it is scoped somewhere around $4.7 million. Now, why would anyone do this to a successful charter school for black and brown kids? A lot of theories are out there. But may I give mine? I'd love to. Simple and plain. It's this. If this charter school and its model is a success, more than likely, other schools will follow. Other schools will demand, other people, parents even, will demand it. What? My kid's getting what in math? My kid's getting what in science? My kid's joining the what? My kid got accepted to where? The success rate for these children knows no bounds. They're learning. They're doing what? My kid wants to be a who? A where? And the money goes to charter schools, and it follows them to whatever charter school it is. Now, people say, well, the unions don't get their money. Well, that's part of it. In fact, that's a huge part of it. But I'm not going to miss the very, very important detail here. And that is, if black and brown kids get an education, that means that black and brown kids get jobs. And black and brown kids get good jobs. And black and brown kids become self-sufficient. That black and brown kids can actually take care of themselves or are no longer on the dole. Black and brown kids don't contribute to the prison population. Black and brown kids make better decisions in their lives. Black and brown kids become affluent and wealthy. And then their kids will learn those same values. And then we don't have the welfare system, predominantly in black and brown communities. And then we don't have a party that can use said welfare state as the tenets of who they are. We'll get you out of poverty. We'll make sure we subsidize your life. We'll get you health care and food care and housing. The reliance on government ceases to exist. Because all of these black and brown kids, they realize that they can get a piece of the pie now. That there's opportunity, that there's a chance for them. They don't have to go on welfare. They don't have to live in the ghettos. And even if they do, probably they'll maybe improve those ghettos. And they don't need government intervention. Oh, hell, what would that do to a party that insists on being the party of welfare? I'm not saying it's a huge part, but the hell if it isn't a good part. And the one way you do that, if you really, really want to start any place, you start at education opportunities. You see, the dumber and the more dependent those kids are in the public school system, who we know are not teaching them. We know that they are not having any effective turnout in their ranks. We know exactly where those kids go. Right back to the streets. Right back to the welfare offices. Right back on the dole. They're just constantly regurgitating the same old mantra. Well, if these kids go to this school that Steve Perry's talking about, where these kids are getting accepted into colleges, these kids are becoming self-reliant. These kids are actually coming home and taking care of their communities because they're getting good jobs and they're competing with their counterparts. It's not so much that they'll forget about racism or not think that it is systemic, but they will at least see themselves as the arbiter of changing those things, because the success that they get in these schools, they will then carry out in the rest of their lives and tell the rest of their friends and their neighbors, hey, man, we need more of this school. We need more capital preps. We need them here, and we damn sure need it there. Instead, what did Martin Looney and Matt Lesser do here? What did they do here? They said, let's take millions of dollars and put it in a failing product. Let's snatch that money and give it to the teachers union, to the failing public school. Let's sustain that. Let's waste those millions of dollars instead of paying attention to a school that's doing all the right things for all the right people that they stand for. They looked at him and said, "Phuh!" And the worst part is the cowards did it in the middle of the night. They didn't even look the community in the face and say, sorry, guys. They did it 12 minutes before midnight. Phuh. They told the black and brown communities, too bad, so sad. And then to look at him, and I saw that video of Steve Perry and Matt Lesser. I saw the look on his face. I saw the arrogance in his face. It was simple. Yeah, so? What you going to do about it? You're not going to do anything. Yeah, sue us, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Nobody's going to cover it here. The news media is not going to cover it. News media is not going to write a bit of ink on it. We're a supermajority. And you're going nowhere. You better vote for us or else. Or just don't show up. Just gives us more reason to leave you behind. Because your vote has no value. And just like I told you, you want it to have value, give it to the other guy. In droves. All you have to do is just get up and say, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being disrespected by this party. I'm sick and tired of being taken advantage of by these people. I'm done with the accountability. Forget about getting Matt Lesser off the black and Puerto Rican. Forget about, sorry, I can't stop laughing at that. Forget about just removing him for some caucus. That doesn't mean anything to him. He's still got the power to ignore you. What do you think, he cares about being on some caucus? That means nothing to him. He was there so he could infiltrate your ranks and then screw you over. You think it's enough to just have him removed? No, you got to do better than that. Go big or go home. You have got to tell the Democrat Party enough is enough. They're doing nothing for you because, again, they don't think you'll do anything anyway. They have unchecked power. And I know you can sit up there and say to me all day, but Reese, I just can't do it with the Republicans. Okay. You can't. Let's try it this way then. So the people that you will support, when they give you stuff, can decide at any given moment to ignore you, take money from you, and treat you like dirt. Or you got the group you won't do anything for that you won't even give a chance to. Contempt prior to investigation. You won't even think about the other party. I don't want anybody to align me with Donald Trump. Well, what are you trying to get done? You trying to secure a reputation, or do you want to fund these kids who need to go to these schools? Are you trying to educate these kids and trying to build them better lives? Are you trying to improve your communities, your neighborhoods, their way of life? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to give away your vote while they continue to just spit on you? Hoping that one day they'll take you seriously? That one day when it's important to them, they'll actually give you a couple of crumbs and scraps off their plate? And then call that political power? You seem to show up for them anytime they need you to. They'll call up the phone and they'll say, hey, yeah, the governor's coming by. Hey, yeah, the senator's coming by. Yeah, will you show them a warm welcome? And sure enough, you guys will open up your doors and they'll go, yeah, we're going to give these guys a couple of pennies. Yeah, we're gonna give them a couple of dollars. And all the press comes by and they all cheer. Yes, 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 it's fantastic. Don't they care about us? And then in the middle of the night, they go, yeah, we ran into a snag. And when they run into a snag and you don't see the money, You run into a snag and you don't get the benefits. Does anybody call the cameras then? Or better yet, when you call the cameras, when you've been jilted, when you've been left at the altar, and you call the news media to show up and talk about how you're upset, about how you got used and abused. Nobody's returning your phone calls. And you wonder, why? They were all here when we were getting the money. Now we're not getting it. Why is there no interest? Oh, that's because they're screwing you too. They don't care about you. You're a photo op. That's all you are, and you know it. That's why for the past 3, going on 4 years, you've been mad at me. Mad at me telling you exactly what it is that's happened to you. And guess what? I didn't even have to live here to know, because it happens everywhere. Ask those folks out in Chicago why there are black people walking through the streets with red shirts talking about turn Chicago red. Huh? Why are they doing it in Detroit? Why are they doing it in New York? You're noticing all this. Go online. Go on your social media. Check your algorithm. All of a sudden, you're seeing all of these African-American men and women. All of a sudden, they're talking about being MAGA supporters or, leaving the Democrat Party, joining the walk-away campaign. You're going, what's going on? The same thing I've been telling you for 30 years. The thing that you've been calling me a sellout for. I was there early. And I told everybody in 2024, and I know the people who listen to this show heard me say it. I cried almost on the air. It took me over 20 years to see the abundance of people in the African-American community who said, enough is enough, man. I'm sick and tired of my vote being wasted. I'm sick and tired of my vote meaning nothing. Ask yourself this question. Why is it that there are more and more people in the African-American and Latino community who don't believe their vote counts? Why? Because they've been voting for Democrats for 60 years. That's why people don't vote. There are 63,000 eligible voters, according to the data in Hartford, Connecticut, and Mayor Arunin won with 4,700 votes. They don't even show up for the election of the guy they're going to vote for because they don't even believe in the process. Why? Because there are only 2 choices in a field of 3. Vote for the Democrat or stay home. And it looks like across the country, they've chosen to stay home. So, what you going to do? What you going to do? I would at least try it. I promise you, one of these Republicans will look at those numbers and they'll say, African Americans overwhelmingly voted for me. How did that happen? African Americans are sending messages to my campaign asking for what I'm going to. That's never happened. You mean to tell me we're being invited to come down to New Haven? How did that happen? What? Wait a minute. Is this the Bridgeport NAACP asking me, a Republican, to come down there and speak? What's going on? Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Republicans, get down there. Mark in West Hartford is traveling all over Hartford right now asking who knows the Republican candidates. And there are people, there's one guy, he's got a video of it, says he's a registered Republican. He doesn't know Betsy McCoy, doesn't know Aaron Stewart, doesn't know Ryan Fazio. Folks, get out there. And those of you in the black community, you too, get out there. Stop making 2 choices in a field of 3. You have options. You keep acting like you don't, you'll get exactly what Martin Looney and Matt Lesser did to you. Because, again, if they know you're going nowhere, if they can predict what you're going to do, if it's every time they know exactly what you're going to do because you never, ever once will change the pattern, who needs you? And trust me when I tell you, these politicians talk, and they tell me. Yeah, we're not worried about the black vote. They'll either give it to us or they'll stay home. And ask any Democrat worth their salt, they'll tell you that too. They know. And they even tell you to your face. We'll come back. We'll tell you about the other scandal that's going on in Hartford. It's actually going against a Supreme Court ruling. That one's even worse. When we return, stand by. It's Reese on the radio.
Listen to WTIC News Talk 1080 on the free Odyssey app. Download and like WTIC today for alerts on special programming.
All right, we're back. Reese on the radio. Getting to your phone calls in the next half hour at 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. We'll get into a couple of national stories, if you will. But I've got to deal with a Lamont story that I heard over the weekend that is absolutely laughable. The guy has decided he is no longer a centrist. He is now embracing his progressive left. Anyway, we'll get into that as well. But as I'm talking about this deal with the Capital Prep School in Middletown and what Matt Lesser, Martin Looney did there, and the teachers union did there, what's happening in Hartford is even scarier. And what I mean by that is that I cannot believe that I have to report this story. When I saw it, I went, what? No way. And something really, affected me. I've never seen this movie that I'm about to mention, but I know what the movie is about. And it's loosely based on a true story. It's called 12 Years a Slave. And I couldn't help but think about that when I saw this story in Hartford. Yes, you recognize that. That's the theme to Roots. An epic story of slavery, America, fictional, but just talked about the slave trade. But one of the stories in Roots that was definitely true was that there were a lot of slaves that got away. And there was a group of people who were sent out to capture those slaves, to return them to the plantation. You remember that? Well, it looks like Hartford public schools are doing the same thing. Yeah. Slave patrols. What do I mean? Well, back in 1989, there was a lawsuit. It's called Sheff versus O'Neill. And that lawsuit was, according to them, because Hartford schools were failing kids, especially the poor ones in minority precincts. And they compared that to the whiter and wealthier suburbs. So the Connecticut Supreme Court ruled in 1996 that the state had to fix the racial and economic segregation. And what was their fix? A voluntary integration through magnet schools and open choice programs where Hartford kids can attend better schools outside of the district. The final 2022 agreement requires that the state guarantee Hartford kids a meaningful access to those better options. Now the slave patrol. Because what has Hartford done now? Well, just last, February? The school board approved a contract with a company called CASA, K-12, a Tennessee firm, to recruit students back. The pay was $935 per kids. They did this by recruiting them door to door, sending texts and emails and calls. Up to $500,000 was the total cap. And according to Superintendent Dr. Andre Townsell, he claimed that they'd make it all back and then some. They would save $4,000 per kid pulled from the CREC Magnet School program because the state tuition payment would stop following them. This was all an opportunity to ensure that the money would go back to the school system to pay who? The teachers union. That's all. a Tennessee firm to come into Connecticut and pull kids out of better schools to bring them back to failing ones. That's the idea. That is the idea. That these parents who had fought for their kids to get a better education, now the Hartford school system is literally, I would say, outsourcing to a group that's supposed to go door to door and say, hey, can we get your kids back? Yeah, I know you like it at this new magnet school, but we really, really do need them back at the plantation, huh? Huh? We need them back here at the failing school. You know, we're losing a lot of money over there. We're bleeding. We're bleeding. What would incentivize people to take their kids out of great schools and put them back in horrible ones? Who would do that? Who would ever think of doing that? After everything that Democrats fought for, after everything that Democrats had been touting about this Supreme Court ruling. I mean, this is the thing that they stand on, right? They talk about how great that was for minority kids. Right? How it's important to educate low-income minority children. And now, Hartford's bleeding, what, some $70 million? And what do they think to do in order to save that obviously failing education system? Let's bring those kids who left back into the system that is mismanaging everything from education to a budget. How do they lose this money? They're hemorrhaging students. Truants, just leaving town, whatever the case may be, leaving the school. Why would anybody go backwards? How are they incentivizing them? Do you want the kids to do poorly? What are you offering other than cash? Are there any guarantees that these kids are going to join Mensa? Or are we going to do like we did to the young lady at UConn? We're going to give these kids passing grades and send them to UConn where they can't read or write. We're going to give them scholarships? Is that what we're going to do as a trade-off? All of that to pacify the teachers' unions? Is that what we're going to do? I thought these kids were important to you. And by the way, no real shakes from the communities that are going to be affected. Haven't heard a word. No Doug McCrory. No African-American leadership. I haven't heard from Scott Exdale or whatever his name is from the NAACP. Where's A.J. Johnson on this story? What about Corey Betts? I'm not hearing anything. Where is everybody? Do I have to be the sole Negro to save the black community in Connecticut? Is that what it is? Because you can no longer rely on the oldest civil rights organizations in the country? Is it me? Am I going to be am I going to be the person that's going to save these impoverished communities? Because no one's going to step up? No news media, no nothing. I mean, they love racial stories. They love stories of racial strife. But yet, no ink on these. No ink on this. This is an absolutely despicable show coming from these people. Hartford schools. Let's remove those kids. Let's lure those kids back. I can't believe it. How many are prepared for a red dawn scenario? I don't know about that one. That's crazy, 25th. Democrats in Connecticut are focused on money while public school system is failing. They know that. Thank you, TJ. That's TJ Duarte, everybody. He's hanging out in the chat room as well. Did you get out of school already? Yeah, it's past the school time now. Gwen says, yep, the Democrats in Connecticut really say that, talking about, they know what Democrats going to, African Americans going to do. They're going to either vote for us or stay home. She said, and Republicans won't, and Republicans say the black folk don't vote for us anyway, so don't even try to engage the human communities, sadly. Yeah, they won't. Trust me when I tell you, Gwen, that's going to change. That changes today. Oh, that's right. Spring break already. Good point. Let me see. Jason says, if it wasn't for your show, Reese, I wouldn't have heard of any of the candidates. Just saying. Well, that's good to know. Donald says, let me read what Donald wrote in here earlier. He wrote something in here about what he wants African Americans to do, or MAGA Republicans to do. I saw that earlier. He said something about wanting them to, there it is. He said, just one thing that I ask of you and MAGA, and that is to stop discriminating against minorities. Yeah. I don't know exactly how we can do that. That almost sounds crazy to me. People always say that. It's like, stop discriminating against this. Well, I'll throw one back at you, okay? We will not discriminate against any minorities if you stop saying that a person's worth is in their skin color. Fair trade? Like, because I would love to know outside of their skin color what makes them special. In fact, I'll go so far as this. I won't even ask you to do this. Here's what I'd ask you to do. Explain to me why you're special because you're a different skin color. Don't talk to me about what school they went to or any of that stuff. Just their skin color. Tell me why that's special. That's what you're paying attention to, because you believe discrimination is about skin color. Tell me why it's special. You're black, you're brown, you're Mexican, you're Lithuanian. Tell me why that's special. Like what special talents come with that skin color? Can you scale Mount Everest better than other people? Just anything. Just if you could do that, I'll cede. That's all. I'll give you the floor. I know you can't. Chris in West Hartford, stay on the line. I'll get to you in a second. We'll take a break for a couple of seconds, and we'll be back. More news, more views, your phone calls as well coming up when we return. It's Reese on the Radio.
It's Reese on the Radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
We were talking about the slave trade. Let's go to Chris in West Hartford. How we doing, sir?
Good. Hey, Reese, how you doing?
I'm great. What's up?
Great. Yeah, when you mentioned Steve Perry in Capital Prep.
Yeah.
Man, that was so. My heart just took off when I heard that. About 15 years ago, I was taking graduate courses at Capital Community, so I could get finish up a master's, and we were in the same building. It was the old G. Fox building, same building with elevators and everything with Capital Prep. It was Capital Community and Capital Prep.
Okay.
And I remember taking the elevators down, and the Capital Prep kids would get on, and these kids, they had ties and jackets.
Yep.
For the boys. They had blazers, blouses buttoned all the way up to the top for the girls, and they were the best behaved kids I've ever seen in my life.
It is stellar school, Chris. In fact, by every measurement, according to this school, like even Steve Perry didn't even, when I spoke to him, he didn't tout it. He said, look, our school speaks for itself. And it does. Yeah. The numbers that they went leaps and bounds. It wasn't like, you know how some organizations go, let's meet the minimum and then ask for the funding.
Right.
No, the school was way above that. They let nothing stop them. There was no ceiling. And that's the reason why they're outraged, is that they met every measure they're supposed to. They are elite in what they do at that school. And what was done to them was nothing short of betrayal, hardcore evil betrayal. Yeah.
It's the excuse industry that's taken over the public schools all around Greater Hartford, the excuse industry. No, don't worry about it. You can't succeed. No.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Perry, he won't have any of that.
Nope.
In fact, he will sit down with each student. I don't know if he still does this, but he would sit down with each student, and they would go over a checklist. Okay, I will respect every person I meet. I will respect every adult. I respect every young person, every student. I will not use any drugs. I will not drink any alcohol. I will work my hardest to achieve and become the most successful person I can. And he would initial it, the student would initial it, and these kids were the most driven and success-oriented kids I've ever seen. And that's thing we should have capital preps all
everywhere. And that's the threat,
yeah.
Chris. That's the threat. Because Steve Perry has shown not only that it could be done, that it could be implemented with his tutor. Like he really created what can only be described as the best possible outcome for young people ever. Yeah. And he's done it without sort of coddling these kids. He made them sign an oath that this is what you will continue to do in order to be a success. And he doesn't put it on anybody. He doesn't put it on anyone. He puts the onus on the individual, that they have individual responsibility for their future.
And he tells them, you can succeed.
Yep.
You can do it. I know you can. And they believe in it and they follow it. 98% graduation rate.
Yep.
Many of them they'll either go to college or they'll go to trade school, but they will be successful. And it reminds me of you, Reese.
Oh, thank you, man.
Somebody who was homeless, sleeping in the hallway.
Yeah.
And you said, hey, I want to do this. I want to be on radio. I'm going to do the best I can. I'll work 60 hours a week and I'll make it happen. And you did it. And that's what these kids are doing.
Exactly. So, and that's exactly why I'm fighting. I'm not just fighting for them and their future, but what I'm trying to do is to make sure that there's someone who sees their future as something that we can invest in as a society and politically, that we can never let an opportunity like this be squandered. It's not going to be used for political purposes at all. This has got to be fought for. And I want to give them the tools to do that.
Exactly. I'm so glad that you brought this up. I think it should be all over the state. We should have this everywhere.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated, Chris. Thank you for holding on, too.
Thank you, Reese.
You got it, sir. Let's get our first check of traffic and weather. Mark Christopher is here. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. How we doing, sir? All right. Second half of Reese on the Radio is underway right now. When we return, Governor Lamont embraces his progressive left in a meeting out of New Haven. We'll also talk about the numbers for Democrats in the midterm. They don't look good. We'll play into that a little bit with some new polling by Harry Enton that we played last week, but there's a longer number here that we have to look at. We'll lay that out as well. And on the stupidest thing I read today, who's Gary Franks? You guys know who he is. I tried to get him on the show, but we'll read his op-ed that was in the Hartford Courant. As I like to call it, a rhino was spotted in the Courant. We'll talk about that a little bit. He has an article out that I want to address in the stupidest thing I read today, so stand by for that. It'll be a lot of fun. And by the way, if anybody knows Gary Frank out there, please tell him to give a call or come into the studio. I'd love to talk to him. Let's get another check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher is here. He is in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the Radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
You know, tomorrow I'm actually going to dive in on this because I'm noticing that there's this weird conversation. I don't know how involved you folks are in social media at all, but there is a conversation that's happening within the African-American community and the urban community overall. And it is this debate that doesn't make any sense because, let me put it this way. We are in the culture of smartphones owned by idiots. And what I mean by that is that there is no debate about certain things. There are only facts, and we have the means of which to get said facts. There is no alternative facts, right? A lot of people like to make fun of that term, like Kellyanne Conway back in the first Trump administration, alternative facts. There are no alternative facts on some of these things, okay? It's not a debate. There was no such thing as a party switch. None. So since no one wants to believe that, I'm going to do my best to explain to you in hardcore facts. And again, it's right in your own face. A Klan member died. Okay? Former Klansman died during the first Obama administration. Okay? Died. And during his funeral, no Republicans spoke. The prominent Democrats who spoke at a former Klansman's, okay, eulogy, Klansman, former recruiter for the Klan, a Grand Kleagle of the Ku Klux Klan, who remained a Democrat his entire life, never was a Republican. The eulogy was given by 3 former presidents. At the time, 2 presidents and a vice president. And those were Joseph R. Biden, the vice president, Barack Hussein Obama, and William Jefferson Clinton. Okay? Even Clinton said during the eulogy that Robert Byrd had to join the Klan in order to get elected, which was a bold-faced lie. He was a Klansman beforehand. So, anyway, just to get that out of the way. But I will give you the evidence. Prove it. So no longer stop sending me texts on it, okay, about the Nick Cannon thing. Nick Cannon is 100% right. You're down with the party. And that's all the reason why you're arguing with it is because you cannot muster enough, decency to say that you are aligned with the party of slavery and Jim Crow, that you're aligned with them. And you are trying so hard to say, no, but the party switched. You're trying to absolve yourself of any responsibility. No, you are the party of slaves. You are the forgiver of slavers. That's what you are. You are the forgivers. That's what you are. You're trying to justify that. You can't. It's always going to be that case. Deal with it. Put that H on your chest and handle it. Okay? That's all. That's all you have to know. Let's go to the phones real quick. John is on his car phone. How you doing, John?
Hey, Reese. I've got to say something about the education and that charter school. If you can do some historical studies, I recall that there was a principal in Hartford school systems that was running a similar charter school up the North End, and he succeeded he succeeded greatly. He was on CNN almost every week.
Really?
And he lived in government projects as he got his doctorate in education, and he said he had to live in the environment because that's where most of his students came through. I believe this was in the late 90s or early 2000s, but he was a super administrator, and all of a sudden they asked him to leave. I don't know why, but they asked him to leave because he was not a part of – it was a charter school, and I believe all charter schools are public schools, and that's another gripe is the fact that we have so many public schools. Taxes go up to support these schools, and I don't think money's going to change it. But anyhow, I've been an educator for 41 years, and I would do some research on that principal because he was a doer, and in the end, they asked him to leave. So he had to leave, but you'll see great successes of the past. There's been many successes in education. If you go back to LaFontaine, he was a superintendent of Hartford school system. He attained the highest record of standardized tests during his tenure. He was a phenomenal educator, and Hartford's in the sewer right now. They have like a $50 to $70 million deficit.
Yep.
Mayor gets up there and starts complaining that they don't have enough money to do it. Money's not going to do it, and if we don't educate these inner city schools, we're in big trouble because they're going to be out of 3 workers. They're going to be 2 out of 3 workers in the future.
Right.
And you know, as I know, if they're not given some love, attention, and stuff like that, like they are in this charter school in Middletown, they need some support, these kids. They're our future, and I think that we're abandoning them. Now, on another level, you got to look at the international test scores of 2026. In our country, we compare, they say Connecticut is second in primary and secondary education. Massachusetts is first. But you look at the science and math grades compared internationally in 26.
The most important grades.
2022. Because that's developmental. And then they start complaining in universities that these kids aren't college ready.
Right.
Last time I checked the stats, 38% were college ready. What about the 72% that aren't ready?
Yeah.
And we're plummeting in education. We're the highest university system in the world. Other countries do better than us, Germany, Japan, China. But you got to look at the 22 international competition and grades. We rank on the lower third.
Wow.
And we spend so much money. It doesn't matter if we're doing well nationally amongst our high schools and grammar schools. We're in competition with the world.
That's right.
And unless we get our education under par, we're going to be a second-rate power. China's going to kick our butt.
Let me ask you this, John. You said 41 years you were an educator?
Yeah.
If you can pinpoint a reason for the failure in schools, like the reason why we've seen this from LaFontaine to where we are now, what do you think was the cause of that shift into the lower ranks? Was there something that implemented? Was it a slow degrade? Like, what, if you could pinpoint it, what do you think? If you had an opinion,
I think it's because education's been politicalized. It's been
politicized. Yeah.
We change leaders every 4 years, every 8 years. And they bring a new education secretary in, and they're trying to make them seem – I mean, it's to the point that teachers can't use red pens in school to grade. It's not a joke.
No. I know. I remember – no, I'm sorry. I was laughing because I was reminiscing about how stupid that idea was because you couldn't use a red pen because of morale.
And also, you know what a primary educator's and a secondary educator's primary duty is? To keep the students straight, not reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah.
Unless we can get on the ball, we're going to be a second-rate power. I don't care. Any political discussions you have are secondary to education because education is the future of a great nation, and it's gone downhill.
Let me ask you this, John. Wait. I just because you have so much wealth of knowledge here, I want to get into, and I just want to ask your opinion on it because, again, an educator for 41 years, you'd be the person. So. You said that we have administration changes, if not every 4 years, but every 8 years, to that statement. So I'm assuming as an educator, you believe that it was important for this administration, not that I'm looking for you to give them kudos, was to take the federalization out of schooling and give it back to the states because then they could, in essence, they would be in charge of that curriculum. It wouldn't be changing every 4 to 8 years based on the next administration.
That's correct.
Okay.
But if I can interject your comment, Finland, for example, their teachers are highly ranked, they're respected, and they only teach certain topics in a specific year. You check out the curriculum in secondary schools, there's too much for these kids to understand. And you change administration's curriculum change and everything. What we need is to follow Finland method, even China's method. China's far ahead of us with this AI.
Sure.
And quote me, because I've done research on this. You can look it up yourself. They start teaching their kids in primary school, 6-year-olds, how to question AI, how to do algorithms, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's why they beat us in math and science.
That's right.
I believe that the First Nation, and in our country, 80% of college students say that they use AI for the final answer, cheating on term papers, cheating in math classes, and things like that.
Because they don't even know those,
Right, and then saying, well, educators have to teach them AI. I don't believe that there's many educators that know how to educate the way the Chinese educate, and that's the truth.
No, no pushback here.
Yeah, we think that we're the first in everything. We can learn off other nations. I don't look at China like our enemy. I look at them as a competitor.
Yes.
I don't like their form of government, but if we don't get on the ball, they outdo us in 27 technical areas. 27 technical areas, and their students do marvelous on international tests.
Yeah, you want
to. That's because of discipline and tracking. We're all over the place.
Yeah. No, you are spot on in exactly how you described it in the earlier point about as you described our relation to China. Sure, they are our geopolitical enemy, but as far as education is concerned, we've got to treat them like competitors, because what are they educating those kids to do? Those kids will eventually end up in our school system and then in our employment system.
Right. You look at the Indians that immigrate over from India. They're the best, and some have become American citizens.
Yep.
They're your doctors. We need doctors. We need scientists. And now we're losing a brain train to China, to Europe, like that.
Yeah.
We need R&D development. We need. I'm for the Department of Education becoming smaller because it's overbloated and it's given a lot of grants for things that I wouldn't fund. This is my professional opinion.
Yeah.
But we got to get down to the basics, Reese, because if we don't get down to the basics, we are going to get our A kicked.
Yeah. No. You are. Listen. Nothing you've said. No lies detected, sir. 100% in agreement with you.
Yeah, but why doesn't somebody take a hold of this and make a big deal of it? We say children are our future. They are. All we concentrate on is how much money we can make.
Boom.
Entrepreneurs like hedge fund managers. I'm an educator. I'm honored to be an educator. It's my calling, as many teachers' calling is. Yeah. But we got to get our act together, or you're going to see America sink in the hole.
Yep.
Who's going to develop? Right now, we've launched a rocket ship up around the moon. We're saying, do you know that China landed 2 unmanned spaceships on the far side of the moon?
Yep.
How come we don't publish their success? How come it's only our success? I believe that the propaganda is American propaganda, and I believe that the media does the media does a lot of damage. You mentioned smart cell phones. I've been preaching against smart cell phones in college and in secondary and primary school for a long time. That's the distraction to young minds, and it's going to interfere with their learning. You think they have smartphones in China?
Nope.
No, they don't. So,
that's true. They don't listen. They don't allow them. If it ain't education related, it's not. Again, and it's not even for them. It's not even this idea. It's like we have to worry about their well-being and any of that stuff. Look, they've got a high suicide rate in a lot of those cases, but again, even though they do, that does not deter them from their overall plan, and that is world domination through education. I mean, that's just the way it is. John, I gotta let you go, but.
Okay.
John, I got to let you go, but I appreciate everything you said, sir, and thank you for your call. You got it, boss.
All right.
You got it.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, he's 100% right. You know, this idea that the focus is on so many things that make no sense. So many things that make no sense. Hey, Bob J is back. He said Chinese parents demand excellence. Yes, it's a cultural thing in their community. Why is everyone afraid to point out that parents' responsibility in their children's education and accountability should be placed where it belongs? Especially when you have these cases, which apparently you were silent on, as I suggested. Here we have a bunch of parents who have taken their children out of the public school systems that have failed them. They go to these prep schools. They go to these secondary schools where education is the focus. And now we have the public school system, right, which is, again, hemorrhaging students, going out there and incentivizing them to return to failing schools. Where's the outrage? There is none, right? There is none. And why should there be? Why should there be? Because they're only bringing those poor black kids who ended up in these secondary schools or ended up in these prep schools that are doing well. They're the ones bringing them back, and nobody's saying anything about it because, again, the protests are never about education. They're about something as stupid as some shooting by the police or some so-called systemic racism while ignoring the real racism or ignoring the real systemic bigotry that's happening within the system. Yeah, you got no time for that. You don't. So that's okay. I got it from here, buddy. All right? You're a little late. I got it from here. Okay? Get back to complaining. Let's get another check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher's here. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
Stupidest thing I read today comes from an article out of the Hartford Courant this weekend called "Is Trump Tanking the Republican Party?" by former state senator Gary Franks. For those of you who remember him, Gary Franks was elected in 1990 as Connecticut's 5th District Rep, the first black Republican in the U.S. House history, nearly 60 years since another black man was in that spot. He's called an old school conservative. Was he a senator? I don't even know what he was. Who cares? Doesn't matter. He was a Republican congressman. I apologize. Anyway, so he wrote this article about Donald Trump. And he's talking about his Donald Trump tanking the Republican Party for a couple of reasons. He says the GOP has lost 30 straight state legislative special elections since Trump's reelection in 2024. He says that Trump wants to prove the two-party system doesn't work so he can kill the Senate filibuster and get one-party rule and become a dictator like Hitler in Nazi Germany, Franks writes. He also says that the Save America Act is the smoking gun. He calls the bill unconstitutional federal takeover of elections, and states should control them per the Constitution. Trump won't sign anything else until it passes. Republicans might sneak in through reconciliation goal. He calls that chaos and emergency powers equaling Trump being a king. He also says that Trump has a record number of bankruptcies. I guess that's also a reason why. And he also, this is my favorite part, he says that Donald Trump has the fewest number of black people in the top 100 positions since the 1950s. And that means that Trump is trying to tank the Republican Party. Well, Gary, with all due respect, you should be happy about that because technically you're a Democrat. And just admit it. It's okay. It's all right. I'll talk a little bit more about this when we get back. Let's get another check of traffic and weather with Mark Christopher.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Yeah, read a couple of comments here in the chat room because the education conversation is very wide-ranging because people have a lot of broad opinions about this, so I want to read a couple. Bob J. says, the teachers' union role is not to manage the performance of teachers. Well, I don't think anybody ever said that. Their job is to represent their members, like any other unions. Parents should be involved in their children's school administration and be reinforcing academic activities at home. Schools need discipline, and parents need to support that. Bob J. and I agree on something. Let me break down a couple of things here that he missed, though. Okay? One, says parents should be involved in their children's school administration. No. They should be involved in their children's education, period. That's it, full stop. Now, it's not as simple as, hey, kid, what'd you learn in school today? Right? It is actually checking that your child is learning. You are invested in their future, knowing that they're learning. Plus, your kid must be able to rely on their parents when they need help. They've got to go, mom or dad or both. I'm not learning this well. I don't understand this. I need help. Now, if you have to get them a tutor, I understand it. If you're a parent and you're a busy parent and you can't, also understood. But you have got to be utilizing the weekends and the time that you have off in spending time with your children about their education and knowing where they are. It's just like knowing what your kid's doing when they're outside playing with their friends, making sure they're not involved with gangs, not smoking, not drinking, that stuff, getting involved with bad behavior, because that is your role. You just have to. That's it. If you're going to have kids, that's the part you have to take. So Bob J is 100% right on that. But the investment in your education, that's always done in a very vague way. Right? Oh, you got to be involved. What? Show up at the school. Go to parent-teacher conferences. That's not enough. That isn't enough. Because I've gone to these. I mean, I'll never forget when the oldest we go into the school, and the teacher says, Ayla has a lot of potential. And my response to that was, okay, and this means what? Well, it means that she could be focusing more. Okay, on what? Like, what are you talking about? Can you please stop being so vague? That's a very general statement. Where is she struggling? Is it math? Is it reading? Is it phonics? What is the issue? And I'm getting literally tugged by the ex. I'm like, no. Don't do that. What are you talking about? Don't do what? Are we here just to hear somebody just throw things at us? She needs this, that, and then I yell at her? Okay, apply yourself. No, I need to understand where the problems are. You want us to be involved? Help us. You're the person who's in there in the classroom. You can clearly see where the child is struggling. And if the child is struggling and they're not telling me, and you're there and you're with them all day and you see them struggling, you should know where they are. And if you don't, fine, leave that to me. Okay, then I'll find out. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so Bob J is agreeing with me. He said, I actually agree with you with your correction on my statement. I meant that you what you said didn't phrase it correctly. Okay, no, I appreciate that. Anyway, but this is the important part about education. Now, if the parent is just putting them into a new school, like a magnet school or a prep school, and thinking, okay, then, I don't have to worry about it anymore because I put them in the capable hands of these new teachers. No, it doesn't end there. It doesn't. And I get it. I'm friends with a teacher. I don't want to say where she's a teacher or what school she's a teacher at. And every time we go out, I hear horror stories about these kids. And this individual has been a teacher for so long that she was the teacher of the parents of some of these kids. And she teaches a very young age. So imagine that. So she's got the parent when they were kids, and now she's got their kids. And she can communicate with these adults now, knowing them personally, and see them struggling as a parent. And when I say the horror stories I've heard, kids not... Remember what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago about the kids not getting a meal for breakfast? This is... I don't want to... I'm not revealing anything, but I'm just going to tell the story. She said that one of the students walked in and the kid's fingers were blue. I mean, every one of their fingers was blue. And the reason why the kid's fingers were blue is because that morning what the kid had for breakfast were potato chips. So those Taki things, what are the name of those things, Roland? What's the name of those blue chips that the kids like? Well, whatever you are, Takis or whatever. Yeah. The kid had blue dust all over his fingers. He was eating that for breakfast. Why? Because the parent didn't get up early enough to get the kid into the classroom to have free breakfast. That's what they're feeding the kid. The kid doesn't understand a lick of English. Doesn't even speak English well. And to look at the parents, and the parents clearly don't speak English well. They have a hard time just communicating. And these are the poorest of the poor. Children do not know their ABCs at the fundamental level. We're talking about kids that are in preschool, first kindergarten, first grade. There's a kid in this teacher's school that is going to be left back in kindergarten because this kid does not know their ABCs. That's what's happening in the school. Then there's nothing anyone can do about it. Nothing. And what will happen when that kid fails the second time around and they're 7 years old in kindergarten? They will be socially promoted because what else can you do? What can you do? There's no way to educate that kid. The parent clearly can't help because of whatever reason. And you're just going to have to move that kid into the second grade or put him in a special needs class. That's it. And it is daunting. It's sad to hear these stories. I sit there and I listen to them, and I have to give this person the raw truth. You should hear what I have to say. It's an ugly thing I have to say to this teacher who cares about these kids. She's, heartfelt because she can do nothing. Her hands are tied. I can educate these kids as much as I possibly can, but she gets no support from the parent, and clearly the child is not going to learn. And I have to look at her and I just go, you have to let it go. And, being in pain is not going to be enough. The parent's not going to help you, and they don't see any future. Now, I said this a long time ago. You can't sell education in a lot of these communities, and you can't give it away for free. They don't want it. They have been browbeaten into believing that it's worthless to them. It is. So when you have, again, my whole point today's show about this charter school, about Capital Prep, is that here you have a storybook. It couldn't be, you couldn't get any better than this school. And you heard, people talking about it. This school is stellar, elite, what they're doing for these kids. And to have politicians who I know are frustrated about the education in this state, and at least the level, or lack thereof, of education in the state, and keep talking and screaming about, it wasn't Justin Ellicott during his last election was talking about how unfair the education system was to black and brown communities. You have this school, and what do? Damn, the hell if they didn't pull the rug out from under these folks. And all you're going to get at the end of the day, what are you going to get from these people? The same thing over and over again. Oh, we need to fix the problem. Then we get an opportunity to fix them? Yeah, next time. That's what it will be. And I'm just asking a question, like, when is enough going to be enough? After a while, you got to go into recovery. Just because you're not getting anything from it. Yeah, that's true. Yep, you 100%. Yeah, I cannot even believe I have to repeat this, but he's right. Fritz just said in what's name, some of these kids are in the classroom and they defecate on themselves. I heard that story too. Kids first grade wearing pull-ups because they're not potty trained. It's really, really rough out there. It's rough. Donald says Bridgeport, Farmington, Stamford, and Hartford are among the highest paying school districts in Connecticut, with an average annual salaries for teachers frequently exceeding $75,000 to over $82,000, depending on the experience and location. Those numbers should not be what they are, Donald. You know that. They should not be that way. They shouldn't. And another part of that is I say this, right? With a supermajority that will never, ever vote the other way around, right? And clearly the evidence is there. If you ask anyone who votes for this government, that constantly sees more and more decline in the school system, in the housing, in homes, in employment, in wages, all of those things. When you see that constant decline with supermajorities in the Democrat Party never voting for the opposite party, the opposition party, never. I will never let those guys get in power. Those people are scum. You see the constant theme, right? What do you keep seeing? No results. It gets worse and worse and worse. And still look back on the other party and just go, nope, never going to do it. Okay, keep voting for the other guys. Keep voting for the guys that you always vote for. Numbers plummet. Despicable numbers. Despicable results. More and more decline. More and more erosion. More and more theft. More and more theft in taxes. Nothing. More and more people who need services. And your argument to that is, nope, just can't vote for the other guy. Tell me what. You got to explain it to me because, again, remember, Republicans not in power. No one's paying attention to them. The media doesn't even cover Republicans. Like, literally, when they do, it has got to be like scorched earth for them to cover them. It is a one-party system in this state, and yet diminishing returns over and over again. And you guys are sitting up here telling me that it's the Republicans who are doing it? Oh, my goodness, if only MAGA would go away. That's what you're telling me? I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I'm looking dead at it, and I know that people, again, as I said last week, I know you're frustrated. All of you in the Democrat Party, I know you hate this. I know you're fed up, too. Yeah, you can, listen, run around, do your protesting, hold your signs, scream at MAGA. But at home, when you're looking at your kitchen table and you're seeing those bills and you see those headlines and you see the theft and you see the taxation and you see the businesses leaving and you see the opportunities being squandered, you see the far-left progressivism of now Ned Lamont is going down to New Haven saying, I'm progressive as it gets, buddy. Huh? Anybody remember this? This was Ned Lamont last summer. This was him.
Governor, it seems like for both parties, perhaps, the extreme right, the extreme left seems to be driving the politics for each of those parties. Is there even a center left for either party or both parties?
It's getting smaller because I'm there. And you're right. I think, after Donald Trump's election, the Republicans are a lot less likely to want to talk to me. I always had a big table and an open door, and a lot of people looked at me and said, God, it looks a little like a Republican. And the Democrats are sort of really fighting Trump every day. And if you don't go after him on a daily basis, you're sort of being weak in terms of your principles. So you're right. The middle's getting very small, and that's not a good thing for America.
Yeah. Middle's getting quite small. I'm the middle guy, That's what he said. Just recently, he was in New Haven. Now he's bragging, I'm a progressive. Wonder how that happened. Huh? Josh Elliott, maybe? Huh? Somebody seems very, very desperate for a guy who says he's in the middle. Says the middle. I guess it shrank so much he's out. Lori says he's so progressive, soon he'll be out of office. He's heading to Tennessee, another red state. Yeah, I agree with you there, Lori. That's exactly where he's going to end up. Without a doubt. Couldn't believe he's actually talking about that. He said, yep, I'm progressive now, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. We got music news coming up. We'll do that. Also, new Democrat numbers that you need to hear from Harry Enton and CBS News. As I said, and I'll continue to say, the numbers don't lie, neither do the trends. These midterms are not going to be what people think it's going to be. I mean, come on, history isn't what it used to be. We'll talk about that. Let's get a check of traffic and weather. Mark Christopher, he's here. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, we're back. It's Reese on the radio, WTIC News Talk 1080, as the big voice said. Let's do some music news. News. And today is a perfect example of I love any kind of music news because I don't know anybody who's in today's music news. Happy birthday goes to Carrie Job, who turns 44 today, born in 1982. The contemporary Christian music powerhouse whose anthems like Revelation Song and I Am Not Alone have sold millions on the top Billboard Christian charts. Apparently, he's on there for years. Max Bemis, born in 1985, turns 41. He is the Say Anything frontman. You may know him from the album called Is a Real Boy. And don't know that either. Frank Black of the Black Francis group, born in 1965, turns 61. He is the Pixies co-founder. I know the Pixies. At least I know them. I think Mark Christopher might know them as well. Warren Hayes was born in 1960. He turned 66. He's a Southern rock guitar hero from the Allman Brothers Band. And Udo Dirk Schneider turns 74. I love that name. Dirk Schneider. He is the group Accept's original frontman, who had a song, heavy metal anthem called Balls to the Wall and Fast as a Shark. Also, milestones today include 22 years since the Modest Mouse group released Good News for People Who Love Bad News, and I loved that album. Float On was the big hit from there. ABBA's Waterloo is 52 years old. It won the Eurovision Song Contest back in 1974. 52 years since Billy Joel's Piano Man entered the Billboard Top 40. 58 years ago, Simon & Garfunkel's The Graduate soundtrack hits #1. And 60 years ago, the Beatles, who are always on this list, they began recording Revolver in 1966. That is your music news. Modest Mouse. That was the group that I loved, and then they went mainstream with this album 22 years ago, and I stopped listening to them. As soon as everybody heard them and MTV wouldn't stop playing that Float On record, Ocean Breathe Salty is still one of my favorite records by them. I love that group. Mark Christopher, he is back. He is in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. What do you got there? What's that in the background?
Let's see. What do I have in the background here? Hold on a second. I was gonna play Modest Mouse. But
Modest Mouse Float On or Oceans Breathe Salty?
Gonna play
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
By the way, let me give a shout out to John D. Garland. Epic posts on Facebook. Thank you, John. I'll read that in a second. But I want to get into one very, very important thing, and then I want to get into a comment that Donald put in the chat room. Because, the argument is, and I made this argument on Good Friday, that this is not going to be your average midterm election. And I think people know that. CBS knows that. CNN knows that. MS Now knows that. You wouldn't see all of these people with the whole, No Kings rally if they were certain that everything's going to be all right. It ain't all right. It ain't all right. We'll get that in a second. But Donald says, Reese, the Republican Party has moved farther to the right, but you don't talk about that. Good. Allow me to. If you think common sense is too far to the right, then you're never, ever going to vote Republican. I want you to think about that statement. And there are a lot of people on the Democrat Party who say, they just become far right. Remember what that means. Far right today means you don't want men in women's spaces. That's far right. You don't want people to be, voted for or to get jobs based solely on their skin color or their gender or their sexual orientation. You want a meritocracy. That's far right now. You believe that life begins at conception, but you also do not believe that a baby should be aborted up until the date of birth. That's far right now. Okay? You believe that all speech is free speech and that hate speech is an invention by the left. That's far right now. If you would have asked Donald brilliantly, he would not be able to come up with what is considered far right. He has no idea. None. He just knows it's something, a platitude that you just say, oh, they've gone too far to the right. What? What do you consider far right? What is the position, the tenets of the so-called MAGA movement, far right movement that you think is so damn controversial? What is it? Huh? That you should not mutilate a teenager? Is that too extreme for you? That a 3-year-old cannot decide what his gender is? Is that too extreme? Is it too extreme to want Americans to be the only people allowed to vote in elections? Too far? Is that too far? Just tell me. All I want to know is list them. List the thing that I'm way over my skis on. The one that makes you go, too radical, Reese. Just tell me what they are. I bet you can't. And I bet you if you did list them, I wouldn't even recognize them. I think that if you wrote them, the rest of us would look at them and go, it's not my position. What are you talking about? Because I don't think you even know what you're talking about. I think you're just saying it for the sake of. That being said, as I said earlier, there are 9 compromises. They are. They're simple, in no particular order. We will denounce MAGA if you just make these compromises with us, and there are 9. We will abandon the MAGA movement and Donald Trump. We will give you everything you want. You have to denounce these things. Biological sex is a spectrum, and men can become women. You got to abandon it. If you can abandon that, we'll abandon Trump. Climate change is an existential apocalypse that justifies destroying the economy. Abandon that, we'll abandon Trump. Open borders are compassionate and have zero downside. Abandon that idea. We'll leave Trump. Defunding the police and soft on crime policies. Abandon that. We will leave Trump. You got to do them all, not just a few, all of them. Children are sexual beings who need explicit books and drag queen story hour. Abandon that. We will leave Trump. Race-based policies, DEI, reparations, and affirmative actions. Fix racism better than colorblind merit. Get rid of that. Denounce it. We'll denounce Trump and MAGA. Late-term abortion, as I just said, is health care. And a fetus isn't a baby until it's born. Abandon it. We'll denounce Trump. Socialism and communism light. Wealth redistribution and government-run everything works better than capitalism. Abandon it. We'll abandon Trump. We'll leave it. We'll never say his name. We'll burn our hats. And last but not least, admit that COVID lockdown, school closure, and vaccine mandates were based on no settled science. That the lab leak was real. And Dr. Fauci is a criminal. You can give us all of that. We will renounce everything about Donald Trump and MAGA. That's the compromise. It's the 9 compromises. Share them with your friends. We'll be happy to, if you could do that. That's all I'm saying. Now I want to read John Garland's comment. He says, Democrats are enriched and empowered by black victimhood. Dumb kids and parent leads to codependency, a core base of their voting bloc. Government dependency is the byproduct. NGOs and nonprofits are the financial institution built around these industries. And the job of most politicians is to secure funding for these industries. Couldn't have said it better myself, my friend. Well done. Make sure you go to his Facebook page. Follow him. Anyway, Alex, I will take 10 commandments for $10,000, please. Thank you for that, Ned. That was good. That was really, really good. Now, to the Democrats. By the way, if you're trying to call on the phones, I apologize. For some odd reason, we cannot pick them up. We can't even put them on hold. So we're having some sort of technical issues. So we apologize for that. I'm sure they'll be fixed by tomorrow. So for those of you who are trying to call in, please forgive me. But you have to go to either the YouTube page, the Facebook page, or ReeseOnTheRadio.com if you want to opine. If you want to chime in, I promise I'll read your comments there right now. Again, Harry Enton. We were talking about this last weekend. Democrat on Democrat hate. This is what he said to John Roberts on CNN.
These numbers are just atrociously awful. A double A for the Democrats here. I mean, just take a look here. Congressional Dems have the right priorities. Look at this. Overall, 74%, nearly 3 in 4 say no. Just 25% overall say yes. You might say, okay, well, at least Dems like Democrats. Not the case. Look at this. The majority of Democrats are independents who lean Democrats. Look at this. 55% say no, congressional Democrats do not have the right priorities. And then you just see a minority, 45% of Democrats say that congressional Democrats have the right priorities. This, to me, just jumps out of the screen because it screams primary challenges all over the map.
That's a bad beginning. Let's go to the next one. If you thought that was bad, this is worse.
You know, you speak about Democrat on Democrat crime, and I want to know how unusual what we're seeing right now about how Democrats feel about Democrats in Congress is. Take a look at this. This is a trend line going back through the years, midterm elections in which there's a GOP president. Look at this. In 2006, Dems' net approval of congressional Democratic leaders was plus 28. You go back to the last midterm, look at that, plus 19. Very much on the positive side. The bottom has fallen out. The bottom has fallen out. Minus 4 points. That is Democrats. Democrats' own net approval of their own congressional leaders. Even Democrats don't like their own leaders when it comes to Congress. And overall, of course, the numbers are just absolutely awful. So Democrat on Democrat crime, absolutely. This, to me, screams, again, primary challenges across the map. And it screams to me, hey, when it comes to those next leadership elections, maybe something might be cooking. You know, you'd speak.
Now, again, this number is awful. In 2006, under the Bush administration, during the midterms, Democrats at a plus 28. The first Trump administration in 2018, plus 19. Number went down, but that is an overall favorability, and we know what the results were there. This time around with Democrats, minus 4. Minus 4 in a midterm year. This close. I mean, if they go up 1 point, they have to recover 5 whole points. No kings. Okay? No kings. We're on the third one. No legislation. No leader of the party. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries. The leaders of the Democrat Party. The burning of Teslas. The fighting of ICE agents. Negative 4. Democrats on Democrats. But guess what, folks? It gets worse than that.
Let's just take a look at this. Net favorability. Party ahead at this point. Midterm years with the GOP president. In 2018, Dems were up by 12. In 2006, on net favorability, which party liked more? Dems were ahead by 18. Republicans are actually ahead on net favorability at this point by 5 points. So Democrats are just simply put running behind their previous benchmarks, and they need to be running well ahead of them if they want to take back the United States Senate.
Do you understand what we're saying to you? Midterm years with a GOP president, net favorability, party ahead at this point. George W. Bush, plus 18. Donald Trump, first term, plus 12. Today, Republicans, plus 5. Republicans weren't even on the map. Please. I know what the desperation is. I understand what the desperation is. You wouldn't see this lunacy if they weren't desperate. You wouldn't see this insanity if they weren't losing ground. Everything they stand for is unpopular, but I'll go one step further. Try this on for size. If the Republicans lose power, if Democrats actually win in the midterms, they know, everybody, even the Democrats know exactly what's going to happen. it is going to be bedlam. They know that there will be more lockdowns if something should happen, another pandemic takes place. They know there will be censorship. We know there will be political retribution as far as crime, as far as, putting people in jail. They've made it clear. Everybody's going on all the networks saying that if we ever get in power, there'll be prosecution after prosecution after prosecution. They'll tell them that everybody's going to pay. That people who work in this government are going to end up in jail. We're going to prosecute them, they say. Yes. The very oligarchy, the very authoritarianism that they keep telling everybody that we're supposed to fear now, they are promising should they get in power. And they're wondering why Republicans are ruling the roost? Why their policies and why their protests are gaining no ground? That's because they're telegraphing everything they're going to do. And trust me, this isn't working with the independents, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, the coveted independents. Those are the people they need to appeal to most, not the radical leftist base, because that's who they're appealing to. The coveted independents want no parts of that. Remember, they're the fair-minded, even-keeled voting bloc that's growing in numbers that you need to win elections. And you think these radical Democrats, you think Eric Swalwell is appealing to those people? You think Hakeem Jeffries is appealing to those folks? Do you think Ariana Presley's bald head is appealing to Democrats in the independents? No. Oh, no. But not once have any of you told them, hey, man, calm it down. No, you told these folks double down. You celebrated them. You shared their videos online, no matter how crazy they sound, no matter how lunatic they get. And you look at the numbers that Harry Enton's got to put up there. The historic numbers. No Republican is supposed to look like this. And damn sure not Donald Trump, the guy who continues to defy the odds. And you guys think you're going to go on business as usual. Or you're just going to go off the deep end and think you're going to win that way? Good luck. Ain't nobody over here scared. You all double down. We'll watch. Everybody else, get your popcorn. We'll be back. More news, more views when we return. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app. Search WTIC News Talk 1080 and tap earlier today to get started.
All right, we're back. It's Reese on the radio, and always remember to go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com, WTIC.com, or as the big voice said, go to the Odyssey app or download the Odyssey app so you can recap the show. We've got the opening of the show, the 9 compromises. Also, if you go to Reese on the radio, I'm going to post this on Facebook and on X, as well as I'm going to see where else I can post it, maybe on Instagram as well. So I just watched Dr. Steve Perry's. I'm on his Facebook page, and I posted something on my personal page. And what was being done to this school, I have to admit, is it's criminal. Let me just say that. That's the way I look at it. And I'm so glad that Gwen Samuel is going to be on the program on Wednesday. And Gwen, I'm not sure who else is coming on it, but if you know, please let me know. I'll call her after the show to find out who's coming on. Please make sure that you are here for this story, because in my view, you couldn't be more cruel than what they did to this guy, Dr. Steve Perry. And it's unjust. And he's decent enough not to go scorched earth. He's a dignified man. He and I may not even agree. I'm talking about, he loves Malcolm X. I'm a big fan of Malcolm X too. But we may not agree on all things, political. But if we do care about anything or agree about anything, right is right. And he and I agree here. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And what's happening to him in that school and those kids is wrong. And something's got to be done about it. Something's got to be done. So I'm going to work with him as best I can if he'll let me. Hell, I may do it even if he don't let me. But I think something's got to be done. about that. Donald did not respond to my request to tell me about how far right the right has come. I don't think he can figure that out. He's citing something here. I'm just like a list of where the far right has gotten so far to the right. If you could give me that list, I'd appreciate it. But his non-answer proves my point. It's just common sense stuff that we're asking for. So, I'll post the 9 compromises online as well, so you can get that later on. And share it with your friend. The non-compromises. We will give up MAGA and Donald Trump if we can get these 9 compromises. Maybe it's a bridge too far for them. I think it's easy. I think it's an easy thing to do. We'll try. We'll come back. We'll wrap this whole thing up when we return, so stand by for that. But let's get you home. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, sir. What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is. You know who it is.
It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right. Tomorrow's program, Linda Sinkowitz will be sitting across from me. She is from fightvoterfraud.org. She'll be here with some new information you all need to know, and, of course, with tips on how you can play a role in putting an end to voter fraud right here in Connecticut. And, of course, all over the land, because a lot of you listen all over the country as well. So she'll be here with that. And on Wednesday, we've got Gwen Samuel and a couple of other people. I'm going to find out who they are, but I'll let you know tomorrow. And then we've got Senator Huang, who's going to be on the program on Thursday. Who's supposed to be on today, but he'll be here on Thursday. Also, we will have an update and our official announcement of the debate that happens on April 30th at Stadium 15. We'll also tell you how you can win tickets to that event, where you'll have to go, how you get to do it. We'll also have some giveaways so that you could be in attendance as well. And you can hang out with me, Brian Shackman, and Morgan Cunningham. Also, TJ Duarte will be there as well. We're going to be doing a segment with him on the show as well. I think we're going to do it maybe twice a month. It might be once, maybe twice a month. We'll see how it goes. It's called Future So Bright with TJ Duarte. He'll be here. And in essence, he'll sort of be co-hosting here. He's going to bring some interesting people in here that he knows who are trying to change the world, and if not, just change Connecticut in and around the community. So we'll be doing that feature very soon with TJ, and we'll blow him up. That kid didn't take a day after he was here on this program where his name didn't skyrocket. So I am absolutely proud of him and excited for him. My kid's going to do big things, and I'm just happy to pass the torch if I can. Because, I did. By the way, that kid that played over the weekend, Andrew Decker and the Bandits, they're called the Decker Bandits. They performed here on Friday, on Good Friday. You can check that out also online if you want to listen to that Friday show. And they performed, and all of his students, well, not all of them, but most of them, performed before him. So they started roughly about 5 o'clock until about 8:30. And the kid who stole the show was a 9-year-old boy playing the drums with his dad playing guitar. And this kid knocked it out of the park. He was the whole thing. And I posted it on my Facebook page, just a couple of seconds of the kid playing. But he was phenomenal. He's such a little kid. The drumsticks are half his size. But he was nailing it. It was, every person in the room was just like, how old is that kid? And it was amazing to watch. Also, I want to thank, I think it was Rob in Glastonbury who was there last night, Sunday. Was it Sunday or Saturday? As well, that came to see them play, and some other people who gave me a shout-out sent me an email. It was nice to meet them as well at Stadium 15 for that event. So I hope I will see you folks there for the debate on the 30th, which is on a Thursday at 7:30. We should be mentioning that. If not tomorrow, we should be talking about as early as Wednesday on how you could take a part in that as well. All right, I think that's it. And stay tuned for, WTIC.com, ReeseOnTheRadio.com for all of that information if you don't miss it here. If you miss it here, I should say. With that, what else did I want to add today? We couldn't do the phones. For those of you who are trying to call, we're having a little bit of a phone issue, and we're not really able to pick up the lines today. I don't know what it is, but somebody messed around with something. Not that Roland would have done it. It's not him. It's just a wiring thing, or the service is out. So if you're listening, I'm sorry that we can't pick up the phones. What did I have? Oh, the 9 compromises. I did have that. Lamont, I did that already. Was there anything else that I missed today? No, that was about it. Yeah, that was about it. I was watching on TV. Apparently, there's a story that says Savannah Guthrie is back at the show, at her show, the Today Show on NBC. And I don't know about you. I don't know what your thoughts on that is. But I have some thoughts. And I got to be honest with you. Can you do that? Can you go back to work in such a public way? She's a television host. I know she has a contract that probably demands that she has to return. I don't know how that conversation goes. Like, who is the person who initiates her returning to television? Because this is her mother. I know she's a grown woman, Savannah Guthrie. She's a grown woman, but her mother is missing. I don't want to say this. I'm not trying to be facetious or mean-spirited. Presumed dead, but still missing. And this is very public. It commanded the headlines for weeks. This is a very public woman who delivers the news, who is now the news with the disappearance of her mother. Can you go back to work in the news media? I find it difficult. I would, if I have an agent in that regard, I would say to them, I'm going to have to breach my contract, and I'm going to have to dedicate the rest of my natural-born life to finding what happened to my mother. I don't know if I can go back into the public eye like that. And I was saying behind the scenes to Roland, if that would ever happen to my wife, like, could I ever go back to work? And I got to be honest, I don't think you guys would ever forgive me if I did. Especially with the relationship you have with Roseanne on this show. I think people, if I had returned, I don't care what the amount was, 6 months. Janine could have given me 6 months off. Go grieve, go do whatever you got to do. And if I'd come back to her and just said, okay, guys, I'm back, it would have been, dude, what are you doing back here? Roland even said it. Dude, what are you doing back here? What? Nope, you couldn't. Now me, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if Savannah Guthrie is anything like me. There's a part of me that would have said, okay, at some point I got to get back to work. Because I know what you guys know about me. I'm a workaholic. I would dive right back into work head first. But I think a lot of you would say, what are you, insane? No, get out of here. Go do your thing. Go find whatever it is. Go and find your wife. Do that, and if you get happy returns, come on back. But I don't think you'd forgive me if I did. And I don't know what the people are saying about it. This is a difficult thing for me to even understand. I don't know what I would do. I thought about that as I do in these cases. I'm hearing Savannah Guthrie making these pleas online on Instagram, and I'm saying at some point she's going to have to return to work, but when? And then I found out she went to return to work today, and I went, I don't know. Savannah probably doesn't really need the money either. Yeah, I'm with you, Carmela. I'm with you. Oh, she always asks also, what time will Linda be on? 4 o'clock tomorrow. Usually all guests are at 4 p.m. I in my heart of hearts, I do not know if I can return to work and be focused. Here's what I mean by that. Imagine Savannah Guthrie is on the air and they find her mother. Right? Imagine that. Like, how do you deal with that? That seems difficult. She reminds me of the old people like Walter Cronkite, even the way George Bush handled 9/11 while reading the kindergarten. That was a difficult one. People don't realize, and you have to thank Michael Moore for that. Michael Moore painted a very ugly picture of that moment. That really bothered me. I got into a fight with the host of the show at the time about those events because, he saw that movie and he let the way Michael Moore mocked George W. Bush in Fahrenheit 9/11, and he let that sort of seep into his conscience. That made me mad. And I'll never forget how many arguments I had about that. You're in that classroom and you've just learned that a plane is flown into, what is he supposed to do in that moment? And all of these armchair quarterbacks in that moment is like, he just sat there. I'm like, what would you have done? And I bet you every answer you come up with would have been wrong. So I'm just saying, if it's Savannah Guthrie and she's at the news desk and they've got to break news, think about that. Live on air, Savannah Guthrie is delivering the news and the producer has got to break in. There's a break in the Savannah Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie case. Live on air. Savannah Guthrie's got to go on air? Or do you pull her? Like you inadvertently go into her ear. Savannah, I'm going to need you to come off the air. Hey, what happened? We found your mother. Can you imagine that? Like, that's the part that because weirdly enough, that's the business that she's in, and the likelihood it's going to happen while she's on air is incredibly high. And again, I pray that doesn't happen. But I mean, this is my big deal. This is the whole becoming the news thing. It's like you just go, what do you do? If I'm the producer, that's the first thing. I'm telling you what I would do, and I think that would be the right move. You hold it because some other news organization is going to get that news story right at the same time, right? So you're NBC News. You're competing with CBS and ABC. One of these guys are going to break the story before you do. You don't want ABC breaking the story of the NBC anchor. You don't. So you got to be the person that breaks it first. Because, again, it's breaking news, and the news business, it is about being first. I know it's not always about being right, but it is about being first. So you're NBC, the police department or whomever it is called NBC News First. And then you're sitting up there going, yeah, what do we do? Well, Savannah's out there. Well, we can't have her deliver the news. All right, we'll pull her. Lester? What's the kid's name who's on there? I don't even know the new guy's name. There's a Leroy, whatever his name is. I don't know what his name is. I'm sorry, I don't know what his name is. Melvoy? What is it? I don't know what his name is. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Is I'm going to say, Savannah, can we see you in the control room? Yeah, sure. Pull her, bring her in, and say, Leroy, deliver the news. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I would do in that case. I don't know. Does anybody know the guy's name? Do you know the guy's name on NBC? Is his name? It's not Leroy. I don't know what his name is. His name is Rolla? No, it's not. It's not Roland. No, I forget the guy's name. I don't know, whatever is Craig Melvoy. I think that's his name. That's his name. Leroy. Craig Mel, I don't know what his name is, but Craig is his first name. That's his first name. I'm over here calling the poor guy Leroy. That's just mean. I don't know what made me think of Leroy. It was all I had. It's all I had. I was thinking of anything. There were no Leroys in Roots. I promise you. Oh, Stevie B said his name was Rollo. No, it's not Rollo. That's not his name. Who, Rollo? No, it's a character from Sanford and Son. That's Lamont. What's his best friend? Not Lamont. What is Sanford and Son's Lionel? No, Lamont. Yeah, Lamont from Sanford and Son. That's his best friend. Is Rollo? Oh, yeah. Well, the reason why is because it's an homage to what's that? Yeah, Rollo. He said, "Yo, Luther." As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on radio. You have a good night. Pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you back here at 2 p.m. Mañana. Linda Sinkowitz will be our guest. Mark Christopher, he's getting you home. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic
Good
Center.
old Rollo Lawson.
That's his name, Rollo Lawson.
You know who was great on that show?
Who's that?
The white cop that appeared from time to time. And
he was real hip.
He was trying to be hip, but he always messed up the line.
Yes, he didn't know. He was trying to speak jive.
Right, and the brother had to tap him on the shoulder. No. That's not how it goes.
I love that.
It was hilarious. What a great show.
Good night, sir.